ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is a review for WWE Survivor Series 2018. It was last night, Sunday. And I gotta be honest, it was a pretty good show. Like, I really enjoyed myself through most of this. Now, I did have some things I did not like, and that nobody really liked. And it just goes to show the stupidity of the company at points as a whole. It goes to show how A, out of touch they are, and B, how just fucking reprehensible they are at times. We'll get into that. Overall, I did enjoy myself, though. It had some very good matches. I actually think it held up against NXT TakeOver. TakeOver, I really enjoyed. I really did. It was a group of amazing matches. But if I'm being honest, I expected it to be a lot worse than it was. I think the performances overall were better than I expected. And there was actually a couple of matches there that had some really good storytelling to it. Which is what I really miss most about WWE. Is the storytelling in matches. The setups, kind of trying to depict certain people a certain way and having them wrestle according to that. And so I was pleasantly surprised by a couple of those moments. Now, to get into this, there's a lot to it. I'll try to make everything as quick as I can, honestly, because there is a lot to it. You start off with the Survivor Series kickoff, and this is Raw vs. SmackDown, the tag team elimination tournament. Or, not tournament, but match. And for the tag teams, you have the New Day, Gallows and Anderson. You've got Primo and Epico Colon, Sanity, and of course the Usos, Jimmy and Jay. And they are taking on Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, the Revival. You got the Lucha House Party, and Kalisto and Lince Dorado started, and Kalisto actually wound up hurting his knee in one of the spots really early on in the match. And so Grand Metalik came in and had to cover for Kalisto because something happened to his knee and he couldn't even stand up outside of the ring the rest of the match. So, don't know what happened there, but, you know, hopefully it's nothing too major. Connor and Victor, the Ascension. You got Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, the B team. And Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. And so, a really good match overall. And for the New Day, you had Big E and Xavier Woods. And for Sanity, you had Eric Young and Killian Dane. So really good spots. I really enjoyed how they built this up, and it went down to the wire. It actually wound up the last two teams being the Revival versus the Usos. Then they made the Usos look very strong, which was cool, and they turned out to be the lone survivors, the Usos. So it was enough to get you really invested, though. It was energetic. It was your typical Survivor Series match, but a lot of bodies and a lot of really cool moments. A lot of really cool moments where you had guys just flying through the ropes and over the ropes. And there was a spot where Chad Gable did a suplex off the top rope to the outside where everybody was at with one of the Usos, and that really worked. It looked great. So, I mean, there were a lot of highlight moments in this match, and honestly, they did that with every Survivor Series match, and I really appreciated that. I really, really did. They didn't do any stupid squash matches this time as far as, like, you know, just teams getting overrun or people getting pinned way too quickly. Except for one, and we'll get to that one too. So yeah, the kickoff, I think it was a great way to open up the show. I really do. I felt like it got the energy pumping. And it was a good showing, and I think the right people won. So, or at least the right people were highlighted, let me say that. But I am glad the Usos won because they're just a badass team. One thing I do want to say is, I don't know if it was Jimmy or Jay who did the last splash, but when he was in air, he actually did the Roman Reigns lock and load thing. So I thought that was cool, too. A nice little tribute to Roman Reigns, who, of course, we want to get better and get back in the ring as soon as he can. We're, you know, still hoping that you fight this, beat it, and get back to healthy very quick, Roman. So, with that side note being said, next up is your women's elimination match. And there was a mystery character there who was Mandy Rose, and I don't know how big of a deal that was at the beginning, but she actually had a really strong showing in the match itself. Like Mandy Rose, I've always said, isn't just a pretty face. She's got an amazing body for sure. But the girl can wrestle, like really fucking wrestle. And that's the big key thing with me. If I want to stare at pretty girls all day long, I'll buy a Swimsuit Illustrated. I want wrestlers, and she actually does fairly well. So Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Asuka, Carmella, and Naomi versus Mickie James, Tamina, Nia Jax, who immediately got booed just at the name, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. So I'm going to get right to the end of this because it pissed me off and so many other people. So at the end, it's Nia Jax versus Asuka, and they just make Nia Jax look strong as hell against Asuka, and everybody was booing the whole time. Nobody wanted Nia Jax for anything. They were pissed off about what she'd done. Here's my problem with that. A, she is a injury-making phenomenon. And she has put out several people, and this new thing with Becky Lynch, Vince McMahon, I know in his head, is, oh, she's got heel heat now, we can use that. Here's the problem with turning reality into a program. Sometimes you disrespect the reality of a situation. Same thing they did with Roman Reigns. People didn't like that. I didn't have as big a problem with that. I actually have a bigger problem with this because you actually legitimately have a star hurting people. It is something that she has now got a great big spot for. And I think that sends, which is my second point, B, you're sending the wrong message to the entire roster. Now, it's like, okay, well, if we want to get a push, let's go ahead and take somebody out. I mean, legitimately, that's what it... There it is. It's really bad use. C, it gives the impression that no matter how bad you are, as long as you know somebody in the company that's friends with somebody in the company, like The Rock, you're going to have a spot no matter what you do. That sends another very bad message, not only to the roster, but to the fans. I did not like it. I was very vocal about it. As you can see, I'm still very vocal about it. I do not like Nia Jax. I don't want her on my TV. And it's not heel heat. And that's what they're trying to use everybody's genuine hate to get this reaction. But it's genuine fucking hate. It's not heel heat. It is people do not like this woman. And the match itself, unfortunately, kind of got overshadowed by that. Because if you took Nia Jax away from the match, it was a good match. It was a really good match, I think. I think the women went out there. They did a lot of cool shit. Mickie James had a really cool submission that she turned on to somebody. I think it might have been Mandy Rose, actually. There was some really cool spots with Sasha Banks and Asuka. I mean, the match itself, I liked. And unfortunately, got overshadowed by that bullshit. So, it's just, again, WWE and Vince McMahon, I'm sure it was Vince, making piss-poor choices. Then you get a backstage segment. You got Stephanie McMahon, Baron Corbin, Shane McMahon, and Paige, and they're just kind of going back and forth about who's going to win tonight. No big deal. Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura, a very good match. I really liked it. Again, some really good spots. And toward the end, it was really fast-paced, and these guys were throwing exchanges really, really good. And it wound up with Seth Rollins getting Shinsuke with a curb stomp. But there was just too many spots in this match where it looked like they were legitimately, you know, could have gone either way. They really created that feel. Shinsuke had some great moments. Seth Rollins, of course, had some great moments. I was a fan of this match. I really was. I liked it. So, and then they looked at each other at the end of the match with kind of a mutual respect. Shinsuke going up the ramp toward the gorilla area, and Seth Rollins still in the ring. And they just exchanged looks like that was a good match. And they knew it, and it was. I really liked it. Backstage, Law Locker Room bit where Braun Strowman is telling everybody if they don't do their part, everybody's going to get these hands. And then R-Truth shows up, who was, of course, on SmackDown. He's like, yeah, let's go, team. And everybody's like, dude, you're on SmackDown. And he does his, you know, crazy confused look. So that was funny. I love R-Truth and anything he does. That was great. Then you have Cesaro and Sheamus with the Big Show versus the Authors of Pain, Akam and Rezar. This match was okay. I don't know that anything really stood out. The big thing at the end of the match, the manager of Authors of Pain, I don't even remember, Drake something. He gets involved, and then he starts getting chased by, I think it was Cesaro. Runs right into the Big Show. Big Show grabs him. Drake Maverick, that's it. Big Show grabs him and like puts him on the outside of the ring apron, and he's choking him. And then Drake Maverick pees himself. And then so like Sheamus is in the ring, Cesaro's on the apron, and Big Show's on the ground outside, and they're all just staring at him like, you know, and it was kind of a funny moment. Like they built up some humor there. But then the Authors of Pain grab Sheamus while they were all distracted, hit him with a finishing move, and the Authors of Pain get the win. I didn't mind the end. The Authors of Pain, they're trying to build him up. I thought it was a great way to go. So yeah, it was cool. Then you get a backstage segment with the SmackDown locker room, who, you know, same thing with a pep talk. And then R-Truth shows up and he's like, Shane, I'm trying to get signed on to SmackDown. And then Shane's like, you're on SmackDown. So again, another funny moment. I did like it. Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy came next. This is the Cruiserweight Championship. And I gotta say, man, like at the beginning of the match, I think the crowd was starting to wind down a little bit. They were a lot quieter for this match than they were anything else. But by the end, man, they were just oohs and ahs and holy shits. And I mean, these two really put on a work. They really did. It was a good match. It was a really fucking good match. Mustafa Ali, man, he hurt his back early in the match, and that was kind of bothering him, but thankfully not too much. But yeah, both Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali had some good spots, made both of them look strong at points, made both of them look talented as hell at points. At the end of the day, Buddy Murphy got the win, and it was a really good match. Really enjoyed it. There was one spot where Mustafa Ali was getting some steam going, and he hit Mustafa hit Buddy Murphy with like a spike Hurricane Rana, and it just looks so nasty because Buddy Murphy, he really got spiked. Like he comes in at the mat on an angle and then goes over. It just looked nasty, and he was holding his head in the, you know, high part of his neck the rest of the match. Yeah, so, I mean, visually it was good, but God, I hope the guy didn't injure himself there, because if you watch that match, it was a spike. Then you get a really quick backstage bit where one of the girls is trying to interview Daniel Bryan, asking him if he's ready for tonight. He just smiles and walks away, which I kind of liked. It was kind of a sly smile, kind of, you know, gave him the part. Then, after that, they call Baron Corbin down to the ring, and that starts, of course, Raw vs. SmackDown men's elimination match. Bobby Lashley, Finn Balor, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman versus The Miz, Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio, Shane McMahon, and Jeff Hardy. The big story here is Raw not getting along with each other. They were a couple of moments with Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman where they actually came to blows during the match. And Finn Balor kicks Drew McIntyre. He tags himself in because Drew didn't want to tag Finn Balor. So, good spots. This was the only quick elimination, and a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't mind it as much, clearly, because I'm a huge fan of Drew McIntyre and the build he's getting. However, it was on Samoa Joe. Drew McIntyre got rid of Samoa Joe with a Claymore kick very quick. And people didn't like that. They wanted Samoa Joe and the weird chants of bullshit in the audience. And while I agree, you know, I wanted Samoa Joe to have his moments, I did like the way it built up. Drew McIntyre is like this Terminator for real. And Drew McIntyre throughout this match looked very strong. Same thing with Braun Strowman. Braun, of course, gets piled on at one point, and they put him on one of the announce desks, and Shane McMahon does his top rope ring buckle to the outside table elbow. which, you know, that's kind of a cool spot that he always does. And then he does his coast to coast. I think he hits Dolph Ziggler, I think was the first coast to coast, gets that pin, and then he gets tagged in for another coast to coast, and he gets caught out of midair with Braun Strowman. So yeah, it was a good match. I really liked it. Thankfully, you didn't have too much Bobby Lashley in there. He was in there a little bit, but, you know, it didn't get overshadowing anything. Yeah, so, I mean, it was a fun match, and at the end, you had Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, and Braun Strowman surviving on the Raw side. Braun Strowman finally came back off of that table elbow, and he just ran roughshod over everybody on SmackDown. So there you go. It was, like, so far, everything Raw. And then you get Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. This is a match that I think a lot of people liked to see. They were highly anticipated, even though it was supposed to be Becky Lynch. Charlotte Flair is still a damn good performer in the ring. And, man, this match was, it looked hard-hitting. It looked like a legitimate fight at times. There were a lot of really cool moments where both women had really good spots. They didn't just have Ronda Rousey, you know, kick it into high gear at some point and run over Charlotte Flair. Now, she did finally kick it into high gear at the end, and then Charlotte Flair just snapped. And she grabs a kendo stick, and Ronda Rousey's running toward her outside and gets hit with the kendo stick. So Ronda Rousey wins by disqualification, and then Charlotte Flair literally wears out, I mean breaks, 2 kendo sticks over Ronda Rousey. Like, the poor girl, after Charlotte Flair had gone, had welts and bruises and cuts all over her arms, legs, body. Like, she got worn out. And I gotta be honest, I really did not like the Los Angeles crowd because they're booing the shit out of Ronda Rousey after she took all of those shots. I think that that deserves a certain amount of respect. Don't be a shitbag to Ronda Rousey because you're pissed off that Becky Lynch isn't there. I get we're all mad that Becky Lynch isn't there. But I still like Ronda Rousey a lot. And I think she deserved better than what the crowd gave her. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I thought that was garbage. I didn't like the crowd there at all. This is one time I'm not with the masses. I am definitely pissed off that Becky Lynch wasn't there. I absolutely could not stand Nia Jax's moment there. But Ronda Rousey just took all these shots and people are just being nasty. And I'm like, no, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. I thought she delivered a hell of a performance. And I thought she took a hell of a beating for everybody's entertainment. And I don't know, dude. That's where I'm at with that. And it looks like they might be starting up the old 4 horsewomen battle between the MMA women and the 4 horsewomen of wrestling. That would be very cool if they're starting that. But again, I don't like the way the crowd reacted to Ronda Rousey. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I feel like she had nothing to do with any of this. So there you go. And then that leaves you with the main event, which was Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. And WWE definitely knew what they were doing with this match. They really, really did. The whole thing with this match is Daniel Bryan, of course, being the underdog. And they told the underdog story. And it was very, very, very well done. And the crowd bought right into it because Brock Lesnar, for the first, few minutes, is literally running roughshod over Daniel Bryan. Suplex after suplex. And the crowd even chanted something like, I want to say it was like same old shit. They were chanting something like that. And eventually, Daniel Bryan comes in full force. And how it started was Daniel Bryan was set up for an F5. And his legs hit the referee and he landed on his feet. And so while the referee is down, Daniel Bryan kicks Brock Lesnar in the nuts and then just goes nuts. Has some really, really, really good moments in this match. Daniel Bryan, honestly, in my humble opinion, made this match 90%. Like, when he started kicking it into high gear against Brock Lesnar, the crowd started going crazy because it was energetic, it was fast-paced, it looked brutal, and it was funny because it looked brutal, Daniel Bryan whooping Brock Lesnar's ass instead of the other way around. Now they built up Brock Lesnar doing the brutal thing, but he was just doing the suplexes. What Daniel Bryan did actually looked like a fight, you know, kicking Brock Lesnar in the face while he's down on the mat several times repeatedly. And even toward the end, he got Brock Lesnar in the yes lock. And Brock Lesnar, you know, powered out at one point, and then Daniel Bryan just started clubbing him in the head. I mean, it looked good. It looked legitimate. And at the end, Brock Lesnar got him back up for an F5 and then got the quick pin. And that was it. And then it was funny because they both looked at each other. Brock Lesnar going up the ramp, Daniel Bryan still laying in the ring. And they're both looking at each other and smiling. So that was kind of a cool moment there too. So, I mean, really, I expected this to be a decent pay-per-view based on the matches. Like, AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar I thought would have been good, and then they replaced him with Daniel Bryan. I'm like, alright, that's still going to be good, because Daniel Bryan's a hell of a performer. Charlotte versus Ronda, even though it was supposed to be Becky, same thing. Charlotte's a good performer. So these last two matches I thought were really, really good. But the elimination matches I thought were good too. Like the men's elimination match actually told a story. The women's elimination match was a good match, but it built on the wrong story. It built on Nia Jax after last week, and I did not agree with that. I did not agree with that at all. Like I said, I think that sends the wrong message to the roster. I really, truly do. And now, if somebody else injures somebody and they get punished for it, I would be pissed. I would say, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck this company. And that's how I feel. But as far as the pay-per-view itself, like I said, really good. Very strong performances. Some good storyline to it. And it might be setting up for some really cool stuff here in the near future. So I can't complain. I really can't. I think there was some, really good work here. I think, like I said, I think it stands up to NXT, the War Games pay-per-view, because typically I think NXT is the standard bearer, to be honest. But I like the matches here, man. I mean, Brock Lesnar going in for Daniel Bryan, I'm not too mad at. I wish Daniel Bryan would have won and had the feel-good story there, because he's still Daniel Bryan. But Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar, so what can you say? I mean, in real life, he outweighs the dude by, I think they said 100 pounds or whatever. So, okay, it was a good match. A good match with an understandable ending. So really, the only thing I didn't like was the whole Nia Jax shit. And that's it. So, I think I gave NXT an 8.5, and I'll probably give this an 8. 8.5 itself, honestly. It was a very strong showing, I think. I really liked it. I was entertained. I had some mark-out moments. It was good. So what more can you say? So ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think of everything in the comments. Let me know what you think about Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar. Let me know what you think about Nia Jax going over everybody and being the lone survivor for Raw. Did not like that, so I'd love to hear opinions. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz. Kaged Nation, out.